Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital Friday, November 1 recap. Molly and Christina's Sam horror Jason confesses to Scout and Danny. General Hospital GH spoilers recap for Friday, November 1 reveals that Sonny Corinthos, Morris Bernard, and Laura Collins, Jenny Francis, popped up for all the drama at GH. Laura feared something happened with Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens, so she was stunned along with Sonny to learn Sam McCall, Kelly Monaco, didn't make it. Rocco Falconeri, Finn Kerr, and Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamproga, were left reeling over the news since Sam was fine earlier. Dante lashed out as he pushed for answers and hugged Rocco before visiting Sam's room. After Dante insisted it wasn't supposed to be like this, he gave Sam an apology and cried over her body. Dante was ultimately left wondering how he was supposed to carry on without Sam. Rocco also headed to the chapel with Laura and cried since he'd previously been jealous of Scout Quartermain, Cosette Abenant, and Danny Morgan, Asher Antonisen, for having their mom around. Now Rocco felt like he should have been happy for Danny and Scout. Rocco felt guilty since he wanted Lulu to live, but he didn't want Sam to lose her own life in the process. Next, Jason Morgan, Steve Burton knelt down for a difficult conversation with Danny and Scout outside Bobby's. Jason confessed that something sad and unexpected happened before revealing that Sam passed away. Danny and Scout both got emotional as they asked questions, but Jason tried to comfort them with reassurance that Sam was in heaven and in their hearts. Jason also gave Scout and Danny a hug as they all struggled to cope. Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, eventually made her way to Sam's penthouse, where Christina Corinthos Davis, Kate Mancy, and Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Vaginos, were arguing as usual. Once Alexis pushed Molly and Christina to stop, she revealed that Sam was gone following a heart attack. Christina was in denial at first, but she eventually cried along with Molly as Alexis hugged them both. Back with Jason, he stunned Carly Spencer, Laura Wright, by revealing Sam's fatal outcome. Carly was the one to tell Drew Quartermain, Cameron Matheson, at the Quartermain mansion, so he was left horrified over her updates. Scout eventually showed up and ran into Drew's arms for comfort. Danny also crumbled in Jason's embrace, so there were some emotional moments all around. At the hospital, Dante wished he could go back and do everything differently. Sonny tried to convince Dante not to go there, but Dante blamed himself for Sam's liver donation and how things turned out for her. Sonny was adamant that Sam was a good person who wanted to save a life, so it wasn't Dante's fault that she stepped up for Lulu. In Robert Scorpio's Tristan Rogers' office, Holly Sutton, Emma Sams, apologized for keeping Sasha Gilmore Corbin's, Sophia Matson, existence a secret. After they hashed things out, Robert admitted he could never hate Holly, though he might not be able to forgive her. General Hospital spoilers say some surprising Sasha developments are still to come, so we'll pass along more predictions on the chaos. The tension was palpable in the streets of Port Charles as the November air nipped at anyone who dared venture out. Halloween had just passed, but the true horrors were only beginning to unfold for the Davis and Corinthos families. Friday, November 1, would go down as the day that secrets came to haunt them, and truths long buried surfaced with explosive consequences. Molly's shock and Christina's fury. Molly Lansing Davis burst through the front door of Sam McCall's apartment, her eyes wide with a combination of disbelief and fury. Her chestnut hair was disheveled, and the paperwork she held trembled in her hands. Christina Corinthos Davis, already pacing back and forth like a caged tiger, froze mid-step as she spotted her sister's expression. "What is it, Molly?" Christina's voice was sharper than usual, suspicion thickening the air between them. Molly took a breath before answering, her voice low and ominous. "It's Sam. There's been a cover-up, and it's worse than we thought." Christina's eyes narrowed, their usual warmth replaced by an icy glare. "I knew she was hiding something," she muttered, half to herself. "What did you find?" "She didn't just disappear for her own reasons," Molly said, tossing the papers onto the coffee table. "Jason was involved. And if what these documents suggest is true, then they both kept this secret not just from the authorities, but from us, the people who would have moved heaven and earth to protect her." Christina's fists clenched, her mind racing through the implications. Sam had always been the sister who played her cards close to her chest, but this was beyond the pale. So Jason convinced her to go underground and never told us. Not even a word. Her voice cracked, betraying the hurt that sliced through her anger. Molly met her eyes, the same fire simmering in her gaze. "It's worse. Jason knew it would put us all in danger, and he went through with it anyway." Jason's confession. Elsewhere, Jason Morgan stood outside the Corinthos compound, the weight of his decision crushing his broad shoulders. He looked up at the sky, searching for answers in the dim November clouds, but they were silent as ever. Inside, Scout and Danny sat in the living room, their chatter momentarily drowned by the sound of a distant motorcycle roaring down the road. Jason's heart twisted. He'd spent his life protecting them, ensuring that whatever he touched didn't leave traces of his world's dark reality on their innocent faces. But today was different. Today, the truth couldn't stay hidden, no matter how much he wanted it to. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. Scout, ever perceptive, looked up with bright eyes. "Daddy," she chirped, but her smile faltered when she saw his face. Danny, older and more attuned to the unspoken tension of adult conversations, set down his tablet and watched Jason with quiet anticipation. The room was too small, the air too stifling. Jason knew this moment would shatter something in both of them, something he'd never be able to piece back together. He knelt in front of them, his voice soft but heavy. "There's something I need to tell you both," he started, glancing at their curious, expectant faces. "It's about your mom, Sam." The silence that followed was deafening. A family's fractured trust. Back at Sam's apartment, Christina's fury erupted into a storm. How could they do this? How could Sam and Jason gamble with our safety, our lives, and not say a damn word? Molly placed a steadying hand on Christina's shoulder, but even she felt the betrayal deep in her core. "We need to talk to them, Chris, and we need to do it now." "No, Molly. I'm not going to wait for Jason to spin this in his favor. We go now, and we confront them both." They drove in silence, the city's lights flickering by like a warning, urging them to turn back. When they reached the Corinthos compound, the scene was set. Jason still knelt before his children, trying to find the words to explain why he'd kept Sam hidden, why he'd let her run from the truth instead of facing it with them. Molly and Christina stormed in, their entrance a burst of righteous fury. Jason rose, his blue eyes meeting theirs, unflinching even under the weight of their betrayal. "So it's true," Christina spat. "You kept us in the dark while Sam disappeared into thin air, and you knew what it would do to us, to the people who love her." Danny's eyes widened, glancing between the adults, his young mind piecing together fragments of conversation that should have never been meant for him. Jason swallowed, feeling the walls closing in. "I did what I had to do to protect her," he said, each word a stone that landed at Christina's feet. "There were people coming for her, for all of us. She needed to disappear until we knew it was safe." Molly's voice was cold, a knife's edge. "And what about us, Jason? What about Scout and Danny? Did you ever stop to think about what your choices would mean for them, For us? Before Jason could answer, Danny stepped forward, his voice trembling. Where is Mom? He asked, the fear that no child should carry reflected in his eyes. Jason's expression cracked, and for the first time, the stoic mob enforcer looked human, fallible. She's safe now, Danny, and I'm going to make sure she comes home. An uncertain path forward. The conversation that followed was a whirlwind of anger, pain, and regret. The Davis sisters, once united by bonds of sisterhood and trust, stood in a room with Jason, whose life of shadows and loyalty had now stained their reality. Molly took Christina's hand as they turned to leave. We'll find Sam, with or without you, she said. Jason didn't stop them. He knew they had to do what felt right, even if it meant tearing at the seams of their fragile family. As the door closed behind them, Danny's eyes locked with his father's. In that moment, Jason saw the first cracks in the fortress of trust he had so carefully built. Scout reached out and took her brother's hand. Will Mommy really come home? She whispered. Jason nodded, more determined than ever. Yes, she will. I promise. But promises were easy to make, and Port Charles was a city that thrived on broken vows. As the night deepened, one thing was clear. This was only the beginning of their fight.